As a response, the disciple stands up. In this way, he shows that he has accepted his own emptiness so that meditation is no longer necessary. Meditation is not the end, but the means. It is a mistake to confuse Zazen, meditation, and awakening. I stood up, placed my hands upon my chest, and bowed. Ijo smiled and went into the kitchen, returning with 2 cups of green tea. Now, smiling myself, I said, Ijo, this is not a Mexican drink. Enough of this Japanese culture. He answered immediately, I have coffee too. And he hurried to the kitchen again, returning quickly with 2 cups of steaming coffee. As we drank it in the light of dawn, whose rosy hue was staining the dying blue of the night, Ijo lit a cigarette and inhaled the smoke with sensual delight. Noticing my disapproving air, he quoted a text from the Advaita Vedanta tradition attributed to the poet Dattatreya. Do not worry about the master's defects. If you are wise, you will know how to make use of the good in him. When you cross a river, it may be in a boat painted in ugly colors, but you are thankful to it for helping you cross to the other side. For 2 or 3 days after that, I was in a state of euphoria. I walked the streets of the city and saw it all with new eyes. Everything seemed luminous to me. With every step I took, I rose up on my toes. I must confess, I felt as I was enlightened. Why do I need to keep seeing Ijo? When you resolve one koan, you resolve them all. Koans are not different truths. They are all only different roads that lead us to the one and only light. But then, 2 humiliating events occurred in rapid succession and cut me down to size. A young man named Julio Castillo came to me. Master, I want you to teach me about light, he said. My mind was flooded with an uncontrollable vanity, which I disassimilated by adopting a saintly expression. So this intelligent-looking youth was somehow able to perceive the degree of my spiritual attainment. I gave my best explanation of the nature of the empty mind, detachment from desire and ego, and unity with the cosmos, the here and the now. I read quotes to him from Huaneng and showed him photos of monks in meditation. Then I sat down in the zazen position and invited him to do likewise. But Julio Castillo only stood with a pained and embarrassed expression. Excuse me, master, but I feel there is a misunderstanding, he murmured. I am a theater student. I've come to ask you not to save my soul, but to teach me about light, how you place your projectors to get your effects on stage. I felt so ridiculous that I started coughing to hide my embarrassment. The evening of that same day, I went to a party given by a surrealist painter, Leonora Carrington. Her dazzling personality contrasted sharply with that of her husband, a man with a grave expression who rarely said anything and, when he did, uttered only a few syllables. In spite of the heat, he was wrapped in a thick black overcoat and a beret that was pulled down over to his ears. Like an observer from another planet, from a corner he watched the noisy party where drink flowed copiously. Please don't think he's some sort of ogre, Leonora said to me. Go talk with Chiki, as she called her husband. You'll see that he knows many interesting things. He reads 5 books a day. Right now he's studying Tibetan religion. It so happened that I had learned a very complicated Tibetan mudra, sacred hand gesture, which I had copied from a manuscript I had seen. With each thumb, I pulled the ring finger of the opposite hand toward my chest, and pressing the ring fingers against each palm, I brought together the 2 ring fingers like a symbolic mountain, and then used each of my index fingers to grasp the ring finger of the opposite hand and bring it down parallel to the little finger. Approaching Chiki, I performed this complex operation and proudly displayed the mudra to him, asking him at the same time, with the hope of impressing him and starting an interesting conversation. "What is this?" He shrugged. 10 fingers. With this one stroke, like a violent wind sweeping away all garbage, he banished all metaphor from my mind. No matter how much I entangled my fingers, I would never arrive at truth, only at a symbol that was as useless as the muttering of an idiot. 10 fingers are still 10 fingers. Awkwardly, I excused myself and hurried away to drown my humiliation in a glass of tequila. There and then, I decided to continue my meditations with Ijo. How can you walk in a straight line through the 49 hairpin turns of a mountain path? I reflected for a minute, which seemed like an eternity. An answer came to my lips. A labyrinth is only the illusionary complication of a straight line, I said. Ijo clapped his hands loudly, though I didn't know whether it meant applause or, on the contrary, that I was asleep and must wake up. "Explain, poet," he commanded. "I mean that very act of asking us how to attain a goal makes us see a straight path is full of curves," I answered. Ijo smiled. "Let's see what our secret book has to say about it." He read aloud. The disciple, leaning and turning to the side, twisted around the room as if he was climbing a narrow mountain path. Then he told me, without a word, "Imitate the disciple, then tell me what you have understood." After I had done so, I said, "Ijo, the monk is showing us how illusion symbolized by the twisting and turning complicates our lives. If we free ourselves from illusion, we see that the path that seemed complicated is actually straight and simple." Well, your poetic answers certainly have power, but the only thing they can accomplish is to do away with the questions without reaching its essence. When you use words to conquer words, you find yourself ultimately on a battlefield full of corpses. But giving an intellectual explanation to a mute gesture offered by Hakuin's teaching, you become lost in the labyrinth. The disciple is not trying to demonstrate anything. Silently, he stands up, leans over, moves in curving paths, climbs an imaginary mountain. But he does not change. He remains empty. He is who he is, without wondering who he is. He abides in the unity at the center of the 10,000 things. If you understand that, you will have no difficulty answering the next koan. How do you take a stone from the bottom of the ocean without wetting your sleeves? Using skills I had learned as a mime, I plunged into an imaginary ocean, swam to the bottom, lifted a large stone in my arms, came to the surface, and emerged from the water. Confident of the righteousness of this gesture, I placed the stone before Ijo and awaited his enthusiastic response. But instead he asked me abruptly, "What is this stone called?" I was silent for a moment. It is called stone, I stammered. It is called awakening. It is called Buddha. It is called truth. I could have gone on like this, but Ijo silenced me with a blow of his flat Kiyosaku. Intellectual, learn to die. I was offended. This was the first time he had said this to me. Then he struck me again. Awakening is not a thing. It is not a goal, not a concept. It is not something to be obtained. It is a metamorphosis. If the caterpillar thinks about the butterfly, it is to become saying, and then I shall have wings and antennae. There will never be a butterfly. The caterpillar must accept its own disappearance into its transformation. When the marvelous butterfly takes wing, nothing of the caterpillar remains. Now come on, let's play a game, he said. You be me, and I'll be you. Ask me a question. Imitating his Japanese accent, I said, what is the name of the stone? Imitating my Chilean accent, he said, Alejandro. Now I understood. This stone was me, identified by my name, my imagined limits, my language, my memory. To remove the stone from the bottom of the ocean, the world as it is, an inexplicable dream, meant by removing my identity in order to realize that it is illusionary, seeing that there is no difference between master and disciple, for one is the other, and all apparent multiplicity is eternal unity. I took his stick and gave him a blow on each shoulder. He bowed to me as if he were my disciple. Then he went to the kitchen and returned with a large bottle of sake. Now, master, we are going to celebrate this, he exclaimed, pouring me a glass of the delicious beverage. We finished our glasses and continued drinking. Ijo was frolicsome but very conscious. I also felt that my mind had been set free. Only my body, with all its muscles relaxed, seemed to be living its own life, far from me. Alejandro, poetry, at least the way you use it, it is a game that I do not know. It amuses me to see how you use it to nullify koans. It is also a sacrilege, but that is good. Without sacrilege, a disciple cannot realize himself. If you meet the Buddha on the road, cut off his head. Now let us see how you will nullify the two major koans of the Rinzai school. Oh, Ijo, I protested. I've had too much to drink to be able to do that.